Well, I mean, you called it a bad decision to sign Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I guess if you were running the Steelers and it was they came to you and said, Brian, we need a quarterback. What are you doing? Who are you bringing in to be the
I'm
quarterback that would have been a
picking
better
one up in
option?
the I'm picking one up in the draft. They screwed themselves draft nights. I mean, I'm sorry, Shador Sanders. I get it. He comes with a lot of drama. There's a lot of stuff on his head. You know, he's got his dad, which is not a bad thing, I don't think. But the kid can ball. Why did you not pick him up when he's sitting there in the third round? Come on, pick him up. You don't even pay $20 million on a rookie contract, and you got him for 4 or 5 years. Even if he's a bust, you still have somebody, a young, athletic kid, can throw the ball, can make some plays, and you're still doing better off than Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, I'm sorry, Pittsburgh, you screwed yourself on draft night.
All right, guys, back at it again. Another episode. Chris is flexing his new jersey. I'm not sure why he's really proud of it in this moment, but
Okay, whatever.
we all like Anthony Edwards. He's a great young star, but the postseason success has not come from that yet. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Chris, go ahead and tell the people, how's your week been?
Just fine, man. Just enjoying some basketball, enjoying some hockey. Um, Even watched a little college baseball, little college softball. Um, Actually, just really getting excited about the new college football game. I've heard a lot of good things about it, so actually probably going to pre-order that here this weekend. We're recording on a Friday night, so probably have that done by Monday.
Yeah, sounds good. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I've heard some good things about that game as well. Believe I've heard there's a couple of new colleges that they've
Mhm.
put in there, so I'm looking forward to playing with them and kind of seeing what that's all about. Can't remember the two teams. I think one of them is like
Delaware,
midway. Yeah, one of them's up
Delaware,
north
and
and one.
maybe Missouri State.
Yeah, I believe you're right. So really looking forward to that game. I love that game. I've loved it since way back when. Back when I was young enough to play video games and uh, whatnot. Speaking of being young enough, yeah, let's talk about the big egg in the room and this old retired geezer that doesn't need to be playing football, signing another 1 year deal to keep his name in the limelight. Again, go off, play golf, retire, be done with it. I'm tired of seeing it, tired of hearing about it. It's a bad deal for Pittsburgh. I hope they lose every game this year. And I
Yeah.
even have a buddy that loves Pittsburgh, and I apologized to him today because they made such a dumb choice.
Well, I mean, let's get into it. I mean, obviously, we're after the draft. There wasn't, the investment made in a Shador Sanders or anything like that. They brought it back Mason Rudolph, who had spent a couple seasons in Tennessee. He was a former backup. They got some starts there. Was never really the guy. He was the presumed starter before this move, and then I think in the fifth or sixth round they drafted Will Howard to kind of compete as a reserve role. And there was a lot of talk that if an Aaron Rodgers signing didn't come, then maybe Howard would have a shot to beat out Rudolph in training camp. But you don't pay $20 million to somebody, bring him in on a 1 year deal for them to not be the starter. So, Chris, I mean, we know Brian's thoughts, but what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers finally agreeing, signing that contract? He will be there for minicamp next week. What do you think this does for the Steelers and their season?
I don't I don't completely agree. I think they're getting a decent guy. Um, I was watching some social media stuff and they're like, "This is the guy you're getting," and they were showing him throwing Hail Marys at Green Bay, and I was like, "Oh, hold on now. That's not the guy you're
Yeah.
getting. You didn't show any Jets clips." I was like, "You're getting a guy who is one of the all-time greats, maybe in my lifetime at least." And but you're not getting him in his prime. Like you're getting a old man that's a bit washed up. And I do think you're going to get some decent numbers. And I do think You're gonna flirt with the playoffs, if not make them, but I don't think you can hope to go any more than a little bit above 500 in the first game exit, a wild card exit.
Well, and that's kind
Uh,
of been the story for the Steelers the entire time that Mike Tomlin's there. They have never had a losing record. And I don't think that they would invest in an Aaron Rodgers if they didn't think he was the guy that could give them that best chance to further that record of Mike Tomlin.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody's going to look at them signing Aaron Rodgers and then tanking for Arch Manning last year or next year. So they're obviously bringing in Aaron Rodgers with the hopes of competing. And I think a lot of people might have looked at Aaron Rodgers the first half of last year when he was coming off of that torn Achilles and wrote him off because of that. But if you look at his game film from the second half of the season, his numbers were actually very good. The film was very good. As he continued to get healthier, obviously, I mean, he's in his 40s. I think he's 42, 43 years old. It's going to take him longer to not only heal, but also get back to playing shape after a big injury like that, which has ended lesser players' careers. The fact that he is at his age and he still came back the way that he did from the Achilles injury, I think is actually commendable, if not remarkable. And I think he does still have some left in the tank. And I think it's great news for DK Metcalf. I think it's good for Pat Fryermuth. I would not be surprised at all if tomorrow we saw that the Jets were trading Alan Lazard over to the Steelers because that's kind of Aaron Rodgers things. He's like Adam Sandler. He's like, if you want me, you got to get jobs from my friends too. He likes having that familiar supporting cast. Keenan Allen is still a free agent. He could always be brought in to be the replacement for George Pickens. I mean, I think that offense is going to be a little bit better than what people think it is. Metcalf was brought in and given a big contract for a reason. Rodgers was signed for a reason. Fryermuth is still there. They just drafted Caleb Johnson to be the new version of Najee Harris. And that defense isn't terrible either. So I don't know. I think the Steelers can compete, not necessarily to win their division, but like what Chris was saying, I think they could be in playoff contention, a wild card spot. I don't think they're AFC champions or anything like that, but I don't know. I think Brian might be underselling what Rodgers can contribute at this point.
I saw him shaking his head. I think he still disagrees with our bit of a positive spin, not praise, I wouldn't say, but it looks like he's still not sold. What do you say, Brian?
100% not sold. I mean, you're a 41-year-old guy who is broken. You need a wheelchair versus a football, but we won't get too much into that. But you're going into a conference with arguably the best defensive ends in the entire league. So some people agree with that, some people won't. I don't think he holds up. You've already got a bad wheel. You've had surgery on it. Great. You came back. You put up numbers in a weaker conference. I don't think you see those kind of numbers. Can he compete with the Bengals? No. Can he compete with Baltimore? Absolutely not. Both of those teams were outstanding last year. They went deep into the playoffs. I just don't see him faring well there. I don't think he stays healthy there. You know, he's got one big name wide receiver. Maybe their running back steps up and he becomes a Najee Harris. I don't know. That's to be determined. But I just don't think it's a good fit. I'm not a huge Steelers fan. I never have been, but I hate watching bad choices too. I said it many months ago. The dude should have retired, gone to the golf course, lived out a career. Yeah, you're making $20 million, but you can do that in golf tournaments as a pro. I know there's a big golf tournament out in Texas with Matt Ryan's playing in it. A lot of the good YouTubers are playing in it. There's a lot of money to be made. Again, football is a young man sport. It's a kid's game. Get out of it. Go play an old man sport like the rest of us. Go play golf.
Well, I mean, you called it a bad decision to sign Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I guess if you were running the Steelers and it was they came to you and said, Brian, we need a quarterback. What are you doing? Who are you bringing in to be the quarterback that would have been a better option?
I'm picking one up in the draft. They screwed themselves draft nights. I mean, I'm sorry, Shador Sanders. I get it. He comes with a lot of drama. There's a lot of stuff on his head. You know, he's got his dad, which is not a bad thing, I don't think. But the kid can ball. Why did you not pick him up when he's sitting there in the third round? Come on, pick him up. You don't even pay $20 million on a rookie contract. And you got him for 4 or 5 years. Even if he's a bust, you still have somebody, a young, athletic kid, can throw the ball, can make some plays, and you're still doing better off than Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Pittsburgh, you screwed yourself on draft night. You
I
know,
sort of agree. I sort of agree. Give Sanders a chance there. If he doesn't live up to the expectations, then at least you kind of gave him a shot, and like you gave yourself a chance on a very young guy that you could have for years to come if he does work out. So I can kind of see what you're saying there. So
Yeah, and you could even argue from a couple of standpoints that maybe the screwing that Brian is alluding to didn't happen on draft night, but actually back prior to free agency because last year they had Russell Wilson, they had Justin Fields, and both of those are veteran quarterbacks where you don't have to hang your job on a rookie. I'm not saying that Mike Tomlin's job was be in jeopardy if, in one bad season. Like I said, he's never had a losing season, and I think that that's part of his legacy that is so unique to him that it's something he wants to keep in intact. And so who's to say that Justin Fields or Russell Wilson couldn't have kept that streak going because they did the job for you last year? Justin Fields, with his play, earned himself a starting job with the Jets this year. Why couldn't he have reprised that role with the Steelers? And instead, they basically said, we don't want Russell Wilson, who's now with the Giants, or Justin Fields, who went to the Jets. They went all through the draft and said, we're good through 5 or 6 rounds. We're going to pick somebody to be our third string guy, and we'd rather have 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers instead. So, I mean, this is a decision that was made even before the draft, I think. Now, you could even say Jackson Dart could have been an option for him because in the first round they passed on Jackson Dart, who ended up going a few picks later to the Giants as well. So they could have had a first round quarterback if they wanted to, and they said no. I mean, it seems like Rodgers has been their guy all along. So
I agree. I think he has been their guy all the while, but I think it's not a good choice. So what happens when that defensive end comes around and clips that ankle, and then he's gone? So now you're way down. You've got no plan B. You've got no. Yeah, you've got a backup quarterback. All teams have them, but is that even close to being a Shador Sanders or a Jackson Dart or any of the ones that you passed up on? You're putting a lot of eggs in one basket, and that basket's old and the bottom's about to fall out.
well, I
Just my
think
take
Chris
on it.
Chris might give me the answer I'm looking for on this one. Chris, if you said Aaron Rodgers called the Steelers and said, you know what, I've decided to retire. I was watching some YouTube channels. White Widow Sports told me I needed to retire, and I've listened to that Brian guy. He seems pretty smart. I'm going to go play golf instead. Who
yeah,
do you think the backup plan for the Steelers is? Do you think that they rolled into the season with Mason Rudolph, or do you think they make a call and try to bring in a quarterback?
I think they make a call. I think that they do draft someone that you
No, I'm
alluded to
saying
before.
today. I'm saying today, if Rodgers made the call, not that he was signing, but that he was retiring, who is the Steelers' plan at that point?
Based on what we're seeing now,
Mhm.
well, it
Give me a
based
name.
on what we're seeing now, management thinks that a veteran quarterback is the way to go, and I think they go immediately after Kirk Cousins.
Exactly. So to answer Brian's question, you've got a lot of eggs in the basket of Aaron Rodgers. What happens if something happens to him and he gets hurt playing in this division? Is Kirk Cousins not still the same backup plan that they have today? Because Atlanta has said we're going to do what's best for us, and if that means keeping him on the roster and making him the highest paid backup in the league, we're willing to do that. But if we get into the season, say the Steelers start off 3-0, 4-0, they're having a good year already. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, and they say, whoa, we cannot waste this year on Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. We've got to bring in another guy. Are they not going to be even more desperate to make a deal done with Atlanta to bring in? Now they're paying draft selections. Now they're paying contract more money to Kirk Cousins than what they would have to pay for Aaron Rodgers. But the option is still there, I think. unless maybe a Penix injury happens before an Aaron Rodgers injury, and obviously none of us want to see that. But it seems like they would still have the same options post Rodgers injury as they do right now, pending a Rodgers retirement instead. So I don't know. I don't think the Steelers are in a bad spot right now.
I mean, we will see in a few months. So
yeah,
we're getting
time will tell. And I guess now's as good a
close.
time as any in the podcast to once again plug. We want to play fantasy football with you guys. We want to start a league. We want to get people that are going to be active in playing. It doesn't matter if this is your first year playing. It's just something that we've talked you into trying. That was the seat that Brian was in last year. He's only got a one league under his belt, and he's ready to go again. He's already been telling me about the differences in preparation that he's going to attack fantasy football this year compared to what he did last year as his learning experience. And we want to experience that with our subscribers, anybody that's watching, even other YouTubers, content creators, other channels. If you want to play us in fantasy football, reach out to us. We've got socials. We've got the comment section here. Let us know, and we'll work something out. Looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I made fun of Chris, for the Timberwolves jersey. Brian, do we want to get into basketball now, or did you have something else you wanted to get into first?
I'd almost rather do something more exciting with and go into hockey before we went into basketball. I mean, I'm not overly sold on hockey, but I definitely like it better than basketball.
All right, tiebreaker, Chris. I'll say basketball. Brian says hockey. You pick. Dealer's choice.
Well, in my life, basketball was actually my first love as far as sports go, before football, even. It's not the case now, but that's how it played out in my childhood. So, you know, I'll say basketball. And we've seen one game of the finals, and we're all a bit shocked. But I'll say, Halliburton, Halibut, Halle Berry, it doesn't matter. Thunder in five.
Yeah, Brian, we it's well noted that he would rather watch golf than a lot of these other sports that we're talking about. And whereas a lot of people say, "Oh, baseball is boring, the season's too long, I can't make it through a game." Brian's never made it through a basketball game in his life, but I think if you put the final minute or 2 minutes of that game one of the finals, I think even Brian might be like, "All right, that wasn't that bad." Because just to kind of catch Brian up and any of our viewers that might have missed game one of the finals, the Pacers were losing the entire game.
Yep.
I mean, Brian, they did not lead in this game until there was 0.3 seconds left on the game clock. They literally trailed the entire game and they won. They stayed in it. I'm talking about, and Chris can tell you, they were down 12 to 15 points easily 90% of the time. And it was just something happens in those last 2 or 3 minutes. They don't give away. They start chipping out shots that they weren't making in the first 3 quarters. They start getting turnovers. And then, like Chris alluded to, Tyrese Halliburton, easily the clutchest player we've seen in a long time. I mean, they said field goals made in the final 5 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime. He's made 4 of those type shots just in these playoffs alone.
Yeah.
The only 2 players that have done that more times than him, I think, are Kobe with 5 and LeBron with 8. That's for their whole careers. He's done it 4 times just in these playoffs alone. It's absolutely insane what he's doing. He is the cardiac king, the comeback king. But like Chris said, I don't think that anybody expects the Pacers to win this series. It was good enough that they took game 1. But I think that almost just makes OKC come back even stronger, saying like, hey, we're not going to be able to dog walk this series. This team is showing up. They're going to compete. They're going to fight. And I think they will drop the hammer on in game 2 and try to make that momentum swinging shift back in their favor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And SGA, I mean, not to discount him, he's going to have great games. He is kind of a do-it-all player. He won the MVP for a reason. I don't think anybody really contested that decision at all. But we're seeing 2 really good players in this series go back and forth. And I think any basketball fan is going to enjoy this series. And even Brian might enjoy highlights from it. So that tells you how good the quality of basketball is that we've seen so far from these teams.
It's good, man.
Oh.
Somebody's going to win their first championship. So I like
that's
that.
always exciting too.
Yeah.
All I can say is thank the Lord for Sports Center.
Yeah. Well, there They're there for you.
Somebody's got
But
to be.
no, man, the Pacers are just so clutch. I'm not a big fan. I think the franchise throughout history is kind of boring. There's not yeah, they've had some great players and everyone has, but they just don't raise this excitement level in me. But I guess watching them right now, it's like, how can you not be excited when it's like you're down 15 with like 3 minutes left and you're still not out of it? Like, like, and a lot of people in sports just love seeing an underdog that you never know that you know is never out of it. And I guess even though I expect the Thunder to do what a lot of people think they're going to do, it's fun to know that the other team can hit you anytime like a sniper.
Yeah, and I can put this in real simple terms for Brian to understand. Basically, the Pacers play basketball like any Atlanta Falcons opponent plays in the fourth quarter. No lead is safe. You cannot count them out. They will snatch victory from the jaws of defeat just like anybody playing Atlanta.
Too soon on the Super Bowl references.
Too soon. Yeah, still too soon.
I laugh to keep from crying.
Sure. Well,
But yeah,
so
and
hockey.
another thing too, before we get to hockey, I mean,
Yeah.
just want to touch on the city of Indianapolis right now.
Mhm.
I mean, the Pacers going to the finals, stealing game one. I know the Caitlin Clark injury has kind of put a little bit of a damper on this, but man, if Anthony Richardson can throw a football accurately, how how nice is it to be an Indianapolis sports fan right now? I mean, if they had a quarterback, that would be a fantastic city to be a sports fan in right now because the Fever obviously has one of the brightest young stars that women's basketball has ever seen. Basketball, period. Caitlin Clark has got to be mentioned in that, even with some of the men. And obviously, like I said, what the Pacers have accomplished has been crazy. Tyrese Halliburton is a stud. Like, if the Colts could get their act together, I mean, that whole city, that whole state would just be alive and rocking.
Hey, Atlanta's got one for sale.
Hey man, the comments will have to answer that question for you because I've lived all over the country and worked in sports, and I still don't know an indie sports fan anywhere. So please, someone out there, answer that question.
Yep. But yeah, we'll go on to hockey. Now I've paid a lot more attention to the NBA finals. Obviously, if they're on at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm picking basketball over hockey every
Mhm.
time. I know a lot of times the hockey games run pretty late as well.
Yeah.
I do have to get up and get my toddler ready for daycare, myself ready for work. So I'm not always willing to stay up and watch the late hockey game. So you will have to inform me on how that Stanley Cup Championship Series is going.
Yeah. So look, I'm cheering for the American team. We made that very clear in a short and part of the last video. But all seriousness about this, like Edmonton is a really good team. I've seen them in this playoffs just come back from a deficit time after time. They will not die just like the Pacers, but they're actually more believable. When I say I'm cheering for Team America, when I say I'm cheering for Florida, it doesn't mean I actually believe that they're a lock, like the OKC Thunder. Edmonton has a very realistic shot of winning the cup, and
They're already
while
up
I'm not
game
cheering
one.
for it, I they're a great team, and, if that's the team that's gonna break Canada's streak, I'll live with it.
Yeah, they're already up the first game.
But they're
Looks like
playing
they're
right now, aren't they?
currently down 4-3 to the Panthers right now in game two. So
Don't count them
um,
out.
USA,
yeah,
USA.
Sure, but
yeah,
don't count them out.
I'm just the opposite of you two. I'd rather watch the hockey game than the basketball game, but I'm like Brad. I'm not staying up late. I got a full time job I got to go to, and that takes precedence over sports sometimes.
Yeah, for
However,
sure.
I have been known to stay up late and watch football game and just be super tired the next day.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of circling back around to football. By the time you guys are watching this podcast, I will be glued to my recliner because Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern time, my Birmingham Stallions will be playing in their conference championship game. Their road to try to four-peat championships, a very rare thing to do in sports, is still very much alive. They have won the last the only three seasons that they have played as a team. They have walked away as champions at the end. And even though they have not had as good of a season this year as they have the previous 3 years, they are still in it. And they've got a lot of players and a lot of coaches on that team that have a championship mindset, that experience carrying through. So I'm excited for that. I don't know if we have a lot of viewers that pay attention to the UFL, but if you are finding yourself in need of a football fix, as I sometimes do, Sunday 3 o'clock. Catch the Birmingham Stallions. It's a good brand of football, and cheer them on with me. We could use a few more on the bandwagon.
Absolutely. Has there been, and I just don't know, so I'm asking a question. Has there been any crossover players yet since that league's been formed that have gone on to make it to an NFL team, or is it just kind of? I know with the Canadian Football League, there's been several people that have come from that league and gone down to the NFL or up to the NFL, ever how you want to look at it. Has there been anybody from the XFL that we know of that has come up, or anybody with potential that could come up from that league?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you think about the way the UFL works, is a lot of these players are guys who either didn't get drafted, didn't get a camp invite, or for whatever reason, then they go and join this team. So it's almost like a B league, I guess you could say, a second choice, a last resort, however you want to call it, and that's still fine with me. But sometimes you've got players that maybe aged out of the NFL, but still feel like they can play at a competitive level. I mean, a name that you probably haven't thought of in a long time is AJ McCarron.
Yeah.
Wow.
He has been a quarterback in the UFL, and I think it was the USFL before that he was a part of. And he's played pretty decent football for his specific brand. I mean, he might complete 14 of 16 passes for 105 yards. It's a lot of dink and dunks. It's just trying to break plays, very safe. You don't want him throwing downfield because he will turn it over. That's kind of been his calling card since Alabama. But there has been a lot of players that will get camp invites. They have a really good season. The big thing that you see is kickers. There was a kicker last year that was hitting like 63 and 64-yard field goals, and he came over to the NFL, maybe Detroit. I can't remember exactly what team he signed with or even his name right now, but he was a starting kicker in the NFL last year after the season that he had in the UFL prior. I mean, you see receivers like Hakeem Butler that dominate, and people say, "Hey, are you interested in coming back to the NFL?" They get a camp invite, and that's up to him if he wants to do that or not. But another name that both of you guys will be familiar with is Rodrigo Blankenship. He has signed on with the team this year, and I think he was like 16 of 16 to start, or 15 of 16 to start the season. Was making long field goals, just seemed very accurate, very consistent. And they have said that multiple teams are waiting for the UFL season to end so that they can call him about coming in and trying out at camp. So you could see Blankenship making a return to the NFL at kicker, based on him proving in this league that he still has what it takes to be a kicker in the pro level. So I already know where Brian's going with this. He thinks that maybe the Memphis Showboats should have signed Aaron Rodgers instead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, because when I talked about players that are aged out of the NFL and still want to play, this B league sounds like a good spot for Rodgers.
No, he 100% needs to go join the celebrity golf tour or some retirement home or something. I don't know what he needs to do. Just quit football all the way
Yeah,
around.
this ayahuasca retreat isn't going to pay for itself. He needs the Steelers' money.
Hey, by the way, everyone, congratulations to Texas. They just won the softball national championship, 10-4.
Nice.
10-4. Okay, so there was an almost comeback attempt
Yeah, they
put
tried
in
a
there.
little bit.
The last score I saw was a fourth inning grand slam to make it 10-0. So at least they put some runs on the board.
There you go,
Uh,
Raiders. Texas
yeah, I
Tech.
mean, we talked about this last week a little bit. The two teams that I expected to play for this championship got beat by these two
Mhm.
teams,
Yeah.
Texas and Texas Tech. I was a little disappointed in that. I had picked the Lady Vols to go all the way in this one. And of course, Oklahoma
Mhm.
had to be viewed as being a favorite after, what is it, 3 straight or 4 straight that they had won coming into this year.
Number 2 in the
Um,
nation, I believe.
yeah, so good win for Texas. Texas has a huge payroll. We've talked about that since joining the SEC. If you look at all sports combined wins across, your football, baseball, basketball, that Texas actually has the highest win percentage of any school, and they're doing big things in football this year too. They're going to be an exciting team to watch. So that's one of the first teams I think I'll play with when we talked about the new college football game coming out here in July. That might be one of the first teams that I suit up with is the Texas Longhorns. I want to play with Arch Manning and that offense. CJ Baxter is a good one, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking about it. When you were talking about the new college football team, that may be some extra content that comes out. Of maybe myself and my brother playing it, or myself and Chris playing, or maybe them playing. Maybe we record that and not put it on White Widows because it's kind of not our thing on this channel. But that might be some good side content. We'll let you know if we decide to record it and put that up. Just some of those games they have very funny moments, very heated moments, very the brotherly
audio
love
moments.
So that might, if that's something that y'all might want to watch, obviously drop us a comment, let us know. And we'll definitely try to put something like that on one of our personal channels anyway.
I mean, I don't see why we couldn't put it on this channel. If the people want to see it, we're going to make it easy for them to access it. College football is a sport. Some might even argue that e-gaming is a sport. It's a competition nonetheless. And anybody that watches this podcast, for whatever reason, I'm not really sure why, they care about our opinions when it comes to sports related topics. And we've talked about worse things than a college football video game. So if it's just something where they want to see us reviewing the game, maybe they're considering buying it and they want to know what we think about it before they make that investment and that purchase, I think that's the least we could do for our subscribers and anybody watching our videos. So you let us know if that's something that you would want to see. I mean, I think we're all pretty well convinced that we're going to be buying the games, and it's not that hard to play against each other. So it could be a live stream thing where we get people to come and watch us live and we can try out different teams and plays and playbooks and stuff like that. I mean, we'll make it whatever you guys want it to be. That's what we're here for, is to create content that you guys will enjoy. So obviously this is another opportunity for you guys to tell us what you expect and what you want from us, and we'll try to provide that any way we can.
100%.
I think that just about covered it. I mean, I don't know if you guys had anything else that you wanted to talk about. I think that was another good episode, and I appreciate you guys joining me for it.
Absolutely. And just in case you thought we were done and we forgot to mention our boy, we got it. Cam Scattaboo, sorry, messed up his name. We got you. You're going to do great things in New York. We're looking forward to it, and have a great season.